Your name?
I'm Michael Bray.
Okay. Um, what branch did you serve in?
I was in the Navy
Um,
for 7.5 years.
7.5 years. Did you? What was the ship like?
What's that?
What was your ship like?
Well, I've had a number of different commands, but the last ship I was on was a destroyer escort.
Remember the number?
Hull number is 1056, called the USS Knoll, stationed out of Norfolk, Virginia.
How big was it?
453 feet long.
Was it the biggest ship you'd ever been on?
No, I've been on aircraft carriers and go with it like that. They're a whole lot bigger. I've been on bigger and smaller.
Bigger and smaller. Places did you go?
What, on that ship or while in the service?
Service in general?
Well, in the service, I went to school in California. I was a cryptologist, and I was assigned to the 91st River Assault Squadron. Spent 9 months with them, and then I was stationed with the State Department for 2 years as an embassy courier. And then I left that and was stationed aboard the Knoll. And on the Knoll, I went all over the East Coast and the Mediterranean.
That's right. Like, what countries did you see?
What countries have I been to?
Yeah, just name the countries.
Oh my God, I've been to every country in Europe. I don't know, 10 or 15 of them in South Africa. I've been to 5 or 6 countries in South America, Southeast Asia. I've lost count of how many countries I've been in.
You make any friends?
Oh yeah, made all kinds of friends. I've got friends that in everywhere from Connecticut to Australia.
You still talk to any of them?
Yes, some of them I do. Most of them are pretty much died off now, but a few of them are still around.
They serving any wars?
Who, me or them?
Both.
Well, I got to serve a little bit of time in Vietnam before they put me in the State Department, but that was just a short tour. That was with the 91st River Assault Squadron.
Was it a lot of stress on the boats and stuff?
Do what?
Was it a lot of stress and stuff on the boats?
Well, yeah, when you get shot at, you get a little nervous about that.
What kind of shot at? Like, what do you mean?
Well, the 91st River Assault Squadron was patrol boats that just went up and down rivers. A little 26-foot boat.
Kind of guns?
Side gunner river patrol boat, which is a 30 caliber M60 machine gun.
So this was like rivers in Vietnam.
Yeah. I wasn't there very long, fortunately, which didn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah. What'd y'all do to pass time off or entertain yourselves? There's much things you could do.
Well, when in Vietnam or just on board ship here in general?
Ship in general.
Oh, well, like I said, we got to see a lot of different countries. We'd go, sightseeing when you're at sea. If you weren't on duty, you usually pretty much slept. Sometimes, we'd get a few poker games going or some stuff like that, but nothing major.
Did you take a while were you seasick at first?
Oh, yeah. Anybody says they haven't been seasick, I'll say they're crazy. But you get used to it.
How'd you get your supplies?
On board the ship?
Yeah.
We did at sea transfers. Sometimes they're brought in by helo and set down on the deck. A lot of times we'd pull up alongside a tanker and take on fuels, and they'd run lines from one ship to the other ship and high line supplies from one ship to the other.
What were the aircraft carriers like?
I just spent a very short time on those, just a few weeks at a time. But I wasn't really stationed on them per se. I've been on them.
Do you remember what aircrafts they carried back then?
Oh God, F4 Phantoms, and I think they were A6 Intruders. That's all I remember for sure. That really wasn't my area, so.
How'd you?
I was a cryptologist.
What's that?
I worked on coding and decoding equipment.
Oh, okay. How'd you stay in touch with family, stuff like that?
Snail mail.
Snail mail.
Yeah.
How long?
How long it take to get everything?
Usually.
Oh, as a rule of thumb, usually just a couple of weeks. It wasn't too bad.
Um,
2-3 weeks.
so you went to a bunch of different countries, like you say the seven wonders of the world, stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I've been, like I said, Germany. I've been to Russia. I've been to France, England. I've been to Egypt. I've been to Israel. I've been to Turkey, Italy, Portugal, Spain. Oh God, I've been countries I don't even remember where I've been to now. Like when I was an embassy courier, that's all I did. I'd go from one embassy to another embassy throughout Europe.
You didn't travel much in Russia, did you?
Do what?
Did you go much in Russia, stuff like that?
I've been to Russia 4, 5, 6 times, 7 times, something like that.
Are there any like special things that you were involved in during like military?
Yeah, there's a few things I was involved in.
I mean, if you want to explain, you don't have to.
No, I can't. Well, some of it I can. Toward the end of my duty when I was aboard the canola, we were assigned off the coast of Libya. That's when we were at odds with Muammar Gaddafi, and we were a target ship. They were had some F-4 Phantoms about 30,000 feet up in the air, and they were trying to get them to attack us, and never did.
Why'd you choose the Navy?
No, mainly because of the schools.
Schools.
Yeah, that was my main reason.
They offer free education and stuff like that.
They did that, and they pretty much put me in a career that I wanted to be into, electronics.
So, what'd you do after you got out?
When I first got out, I went to work for a company called Jonathan Corporation as a marine engineer. I'd supervise crews that would go on board ship, do ship overhauls, upgrades, repair collision damages, anything like that. You know, it'd be marine repair, everything from electronic to structural hull design.
So even when you got out, you were still kind of...
It's stuck in the Navy, yeah. I did that for 8 or 10 years, and then I changed fields and basically went into the paper industry, working process control computers for the paper industry, and that had me also on the road for quite a bit.
So, did you ever consider going back?
On the Navy?
Yeah, after you went out.
Yeah, several times. As a matter of fact, I wish I had gone back in and stayed in, and retired from the Navy.
Why is that?
It was a job. It wasn't a bad job. It was more secure. Yeah, biggest trouble is at the time, I got tired of all the traveling. But what I should have done was re-enlisted, but not in the Navy, but in the Coast Guard. At least I'd have stayed in the United States.
Did you get homesick?
No, not really. I was a young, brain-damaged teenager that was running around, so it didn't matter.
How old were you when you joined?
I went in and I was 18.
18. I've heard of some people going in when they're younger.
No, well, you can go in at 17 and 6 months, I believe, but it takes all kinds of special paperwork and stuff like that. It's rather difficult, and I'm not sure they'd let you do that now. But it used to be at one time you could go in at 17.
Yeah, I've heard people lie about their age.
Yeah, but you can't get away with that anymore.
So, you riding any helicopters, stuff like that?
Yeah, I've ridden in helicopters. I've been in all kinds of planes, and
Good experience or bad?
only one bad one. We had one helicopter that landed kind of hard one time. But that's about all.
You ride any aircraft over Vietnam?
No.
Yeah, I heard that's pretty dangerous.
Just the when it flew me out, that was the only time I flew on a plane, and that was on a little 12-man Learjet.
Yeah, I heard aircraft in Vietnam wasn't really safe.
None was really safe.
But, like...
Aircraft, they had The helicopter pilots are the ones that had it rough. But your jet aircraft, fixed wing aircraft, they didn't have it too bad unless you were a spotter that flew one of those little small single engine planes. Those were pretty hazardous, and the helicopters, they had it bad.
Why is that?
Well, your helicopter, you're kind of hovering in midair right above the target, and you're a perfect target to shoot at.
I mean, so you just use boat?
Huh?
You use strictly boat on the rivers?
Yeah, well, just on the rivers in Mekong Delta.
Did you ever capture anybody? Anything?
Did I ever capture anything?
Yeah, like.
Yeah, we captured prisoners quite a few times.
Take supplies out to people.
That we just did a lot of patrol. With enemy craft that was ferrying supplies. We'd knock them out of the water and just stuff like that. We were a floating target while it boiled down to. But a lot of our jobs, we would take special forces upriver, drop them off for covert operations. A lot of times we'd also be taking humanitarian supplies up to different villages and have to take them in. And a couple of times we had to set up ambushes and intercept some patrols, just stuff like that.
So, the people of Vietnam, did they have to fear that did the villages like get burned down and stuff, and they kill their own people sometimes?
Well, yes and no. That was a bad war. The Vietnamese people, on the most part, were pretty good people, but they had the North Vietnamese that infiltrated them down there, and they were pretty cruel to their own people. So there was a lot of good and bad all the way around.
What part of Vietnam did you say?
About as far south as you can go in the Mekong Delta.
You don't stay down there for 7 months?
I was there for 9 months, 19 days.
I know down the days.
Yep. And about 9.5 hours. I wasn't supposed to be in Vietnam. I was a cryptologist. When I got out of crypto school, they sent me there, and the man that, by the same name as I had, was sent to the command where I was supposed to have gone. But being a cryptologist, I wasn't supposed to be in a combat zone.
Oh, so they mixed you up.
Huh? Yeah. That's why I didn't pull a full tour there. It was just short term.
And it took them 9 months to realize it?
Took them 9 months, 19 days. And when they realized the mistake, they wasted absolutely no time getting me out of there.
Did you have any training for that?
Well, for cryptologists or for Vietnam?
Vietnam.
Well, yeah, a lot of it, even cryptologists, we had to go through different types of training before then.
Okay.
Minimal survival skills and weapon specialists, that type of thing.
What were some of the guns that people would carry around out of the boats and stuff, but like regular?
Well, when I was there, I was issued a 45 pistol. I was also issued an M14 as a primary backup weapon, but my main weapon was that M60 on the side of the patrol boat. But see, that was bolted down, so I didn't carry that around. And whenever I left the ship or away from it, I carried the M14. Then they made me trade that in for an M16 about a month later, and I hated that gun, and I traded it off for a pump shotgun.
A pump shotgun in
Yeah.
Vietnam?
Yeah, there were a lot of them over there. My GI issue 45, I've still got it to this day.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. When I first went there, you could legally buy them. Most people weren't aware of it, and I started the paperwork to do it. And it took, I don't know, a couple, 3 months to come back approved, and I paid for the gun, which only cost me, I think, if I remember correctly, about $50. But shortly thereafter, they stopped that price. It wouldn't allow it to be purchased anymore.
So were there any parts of the military where you kind of felt like the government kind of screwed you over or anything like that?
Yeah, the last command when I was on board that destroyer escort, the Canole. It was just a bad time.
So how old were you when you, not when you went in, but you saw Vietnam?
I was 18.
18? Oh. After Vietnam?
After Vietnam, I went to worked out of Washington D.C. As an embassy courier for the State Department. I was stationed in Europe. I didn't stay in Washington D.C. I was just sent to Washington D.C. I went through, if I remember correctly, it was 5 or 6 weeks of training. I don't remember how much, and then they transferred me over to England, and I worked out of England mostly.
How long do you think you've stayed one place at one time?
Throughout the whole service?
Well, traveling, really.
Well, the longest time was just being stationed on board the canoe, the ship. That was about 3 years. Almost 3 years.
Well, I mean, like, how
And
long?
one town or that type of thing?
Yeah, like country. Like, how long would y'all stay in a certain country?
But the longest was maybe 6 months. And again, I was on board the ship. We were stationed in Norfolk,
Norfolk.
Virginia, right on the coast.
Were any major battles you saw?
Yeah. I wouldn't call anything major battles, just skirmishes.
So what kind of stuff did they give you after you left? Like GI Bill, stuff like that?
Yeah, they pay for some additional schooling I've got, and I've got medical benefits and everything now, and that's pretty much it.
You scribe them?
What, the medical benefits?
Medical benefits, schooling, what have they?
Oh, they just footed the bill. I did some more college classes and stuff when I got out. And
Those were what kind of classes?
engineering classes.
Is there any other branch you considered going into?
Coast Guard, maybe even the Air Force.
Air Force. What stopped you from going into those?
Nothing particular.
Nothing.
Matter of fact, I came real close to, when I got out of the Navy, I came real close to joining back in by joining the Coast Guard. And the only reason being so that I'd be stationed at least in the U.S. instead of running all over the world.
Why didn't you?
I
You just didn't.
think it's because, well, your mother was born around that time frame, and I just got tired of going to sea for a long time.